With close to 40 different background techniques currently playing on Stamp TV, you can create a wide array of stunning backdrops for any card project. And sometimes, whether it's a background technique or a beautiful pattern paper, it's almost a shame to cover it all up with a focal image. That's one of the reasons why I'm in love with the new Stamp It Big stamp set by Carolyn King. Carolyn has created a set that will allow you to create fun borders and backgrounds. But my favorite part of this set is the huge greeting stamps that are large enough to be the focal image of your card, while allowing your beautiful background to shine through. Of course you can use these large greetings for scrapbooking and project life pages. But today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you another fun background technique along with a Stamp It Big greeting. Let me show you the tools and products you need to do this technique. First, you're going to need some dies. Now you can also do this by creating a cut file if you have an electronic cutter. Most of the electronic cutters have simple shapes that you can lay out on a template and cut. But if you have some of the spellbinders or other nesting dies, you may wonder what to do with all of the small ones. So I have some of the circle dies from both the large and the small standard circles, and I'm going to show you this fun background. You're also going to need some cardstock, and I'm using 3 different colors of cardstock today. I'm using the Gina Designs Dark Sage, I'm using the Sandy Beach, and also some black onyx. Then you're going to need some ink, and I'm going to use the Gina Designs Dark Sage ink. I'm also going to use some of our mixed greens buttons. And this project is really fun because it makes use of all of those little buttons that you're not sure what to do with. So little dies and little buttons, you're going to make a lot of use of those once you learn this technique. Then you're going to need some glue dots, and that's going to be how you're going to stick your buttons on. You're also going to need some pop dots, and I'm using the 1/4 inch pop dots. And then I have 2 different Cuttlebug folders. I have the Swiss dot and the polka dot. Now you can use dots and stripes, you can use dots and swirls, you can mix it up any way you want. But I thought for my project, since I was using circle dies and round buttons, that I would use tiny dots and bigger dots. So those are the Cuttlebug folders I've chosen. Then you're going to need a couple stamps from the Stamp It Big stamp set. And I'm using this huge greeting. Let me lay this out in front of a piece of cardstock, a lighter cardstock here so you can see. What I've done here is I've taken the Wishes stamp, which is just huge, and then the birthday stamp, and I've lined them up on my block prior to stamping. And because I'm using clear stamps, it's so easy to do with this block that has a grid. You can just line those stamps up and stamp your greeting all at one time. Then I also grabbed the little star from the Stamp It Big set just to do a little bit of an accent on my greeting focal image area. You're also going to need some adhesive, and I'm using the mono adhesive, the dot kind. So to begin, I'm going to start with the Cuttlebug, and I'm going to use a piece of Sandy Beach cardstock. Now I have the Sandy Beach and the Dusty Sage cut to exactly the same size. And these are cut 3 3/4 inch by 5 inches, both of them. But I'm going to start with the Sandy Beach. Now let me grab my Cuttlebug here and set this up. Now you're going to start with your A and your B plate, like that, and then lay down that piece of Sandy Beach cardstock. Now we're going to do a little layout here using these different dies. So I'm going to start with the large circle up here, and I'm going to move these around a little bit until it's exactly the way I want. Then I'm going to go to the next size down on this side. I'm kind of staggering from largest to smallest. And then over here I'm going to put this one. Let's see, I think I'll work off the side there. And then this one, let's put that one there, and we'll put this tiny one right here. How does that look? That'll be kind of a fun layout. Okay, so now I'm going to put the C plate on top, and I'm going to cut all these areas out all at one time. I do want to make sure that I have the point cut out there. Okay, that'll be good. All right, so I'm going to gently place that C plate down and cut. That is one nice thing about these dies, is that you can just run them through the machine all at one time. Now this is kind of weird looking, but I'm going to remove all of these pieces that I won't be needing. There we go, and this is what's left. Okay, so let me remove these and get this out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to emboss this one using a Cuttlebug folder, and I'm going to use the larger, the polka dot one, the larger dots, and I do want to make sure that I still line it up, because once this is all put together, you do want your dots to be straight. So there we go, that's all lined up. And now I'm going to lay my A and B plate down, and then my Cuttlebug folder, and then the other B plate. And I'm going to run this through the machine. So now I have this piece all embossed with these large polka dots. Now my next step is going to be to take that piece of dusty, dark sage rather, cardstock that's the same size as the Sandy Beach one I was using, and I'm going to emboss this one using the small dots. And once again, I want to line these up so they're nice and straight. Take a look at that. That looks pretty good. And then again, A and B plate and my B plate on top. And I'll run that through. So now you can see this one is embossed with all of that, those delicate Swiss dots. All right, so now my next step is going to be to layer these two pieces together to create large and small dots, and the small dots will just be in those openings, like that. So when I adhere this, I want to make sure that I get a little bit of adhesive on all these points as well, because they would be easy to pull up. So we want to make sure that they're all tacked down nice. And then you can put a little bit in the center here. All right. And we're going to line this up. Now, fortunately, the mono adhesive, this dot adhesive, is forgiving until you know that you have everything laid out exactly the way you want it, and then you can press down on it. So there we go. There, now I have this fun little pattern. My next step is going to be to layer this onto a piece of black onyx cardstock. And this is cut just a little bit bigger. It's about 1/8 of an inch bigger. And I'm going to just tape that all around and then line that up onto the black. There we go. So there is my circular background. Now this whole panel is going to get popped onto another piece of Sandy Beach, like that. So I'll put that on now, and then we'll do the focal image. This is such a fun technique for all of those small dies that you don't know what to do with, and you can do this with other shapes too. You can do it with your square dies, your rectangles, your ovals, even some of those fancier shapes with scalloped edges and things like that. And you can create some really interesting backgrounds and what shows through underneath. It's really fun. Okay, that's still not perfectly centered. It's a little bit easier if it's laying flat and you're standing up. All right, there we go. So now my next step is going to be to stamp this image. So I have a piece of Sandy Beach cardstock here, and I'm going to ink up that focal image using some of the dark sage ink. Get that off of the block there. Okay. So there is my greeting, and I'm going to stamp that right onto this piece here. And because, once again, this is a big greeting, you want to make sure that you get it pressed down all in the center. There we go. So there is birthday wishes. Now I want to add a couple stars up here, and you can either line them all up, which is pretty easy to do with clear stamps, or you can stagger them a little, whatever you think would be fun. I'll start with one right here, there, and I'll put one next to it, and one next to that. There we go. And there are 3 stars. I like to do embellishments or little accent stamps in 3s or 5s. Odd numbers work really well. Then I'm going to layer this onto a piece of dark sage, and the whole thing is going to be layered onto a piece of black onyx. There we go. And that focal image is going to go right about here. Now you can see, even though this is a greeting, it's so nice and big and bold that it really does take the place of a focal image. This wouldn't work so well if I was using a tiny little greeting there. It would kind of get lost, and then the background wouldn't be as exciting. So you really want to make sure when you're doing a technique like this that you use a nice big bold greeting. Okay, so let's take a look inside this little button box here and find a couple of buttons that we want to use. Now the dark sage buttons, there's some little ones in here. We can also use some bigger ones. If you want to do that with your card, you can pick bigger ones to do. Now I did grab just a couple buttons here that match perfectly from my button box at home. So let's put those on, and one more. There we go. We can put one here, and we can put one there. You can put them wherever you want, but 3s really work nicely, and then you can position your focal image wherever you want. Now, I like to put my focal image on using pop dots, especially when I'm working with a textured background. I like to give it a little bit of lift off of the card. So the best way to do that is just to put one in each corner. And once you know where you're going to put your buttons, then you can decide where you're going to put this jumbo greeting. I'll put it right there. There we go. Let's move these out of the way. And then to apply these buttons, just take a couple of glue dots and stick a glue dot onto the button, position the button, and just press down. And they will not come off. These glue dots are amazing for any little 3D item you want to put onto your card or scrapbook page. And one more for the bottom. There we go. 3 buttons and my focal image. And there is my finished card project. Now I had made one of these at home a little bit earlier, and you can see the buttons are staggered in just a little bit of a different layout because the holes are in different spots, so my buttons are in different spots too. And that's just fine. Just kind of play with it and see what you like and fill in those areas that seem like they need just a little something, a little embellishment. Although the Stamp It Big stamp set works great as a focal image all by itself, try mixing these oversized greetings with tiny image stamps to create another unique card-making look.